Hello, 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 beautiful people. Today I wanted to talk about something that I find has been very important in my spiritual journey, but also particularly in my meditation practice. And honestly, I cannot imagine anybody would go far without really implementing this sort of, let's say, state of mind or a form of practice, really. And it is turning shit into sugar. My apologies for the vulgar language, but I cannot think of any better words because life can be quite often is dirty, unfair, hard, difficult, and we just sometimes don't want to deal with it. Even more so when we go deeper in our spiritual practice, in our meditation practice, things will come up. Not always, not with everybody, but generally a lot of things will come up that we don't really want to deal with. Negative feelings, negative memories, self hatred. That seems to be coming up a lot for me lately, which is wonderful. I like to deal with it. But from the depth of subconscious, stuff comes up, stuff that we think we have forgotten, stuff from many years ago that we thought we had forgotten comes up. And that's part of the meditation practice. There is a general misconception about meditation practice, and that is we listen to some app, we do some breathing exercises, we relax, we chill, and all of a sudden the most beautiful, relaxing feelings will just come onto us. And that's not really meditation. That's maybe relaxation or something else, and those things are wonderful. Yes, we want to relax. Yes, we want to settle deep into our breathing. Yes, but meditation is just seeing things as they are. Um, there are different descriptions of it, but that seems to be an adequate one. And I've fallen into that as well. For many years, when I was practicing on my own, I really was craving this good feeling of just going deeper and just having this almost ecstatic sort of state of mind that would just sometimes come to me. But that's not really meditation, as my teacher pointed out later. So turning shit into sugar. Well, how do we deal with it? Um, I was working with a teacher previously who passed away. He would say, "Listen, I love hot pepper and I love sweet candy." He loved this Turkish delight, sort of very sweet, very flavorful candies, or sweets rather. And he said, "I've come to enjoy both." And there is a lot of wisdom in what he said because quite often we want to deal with the sweet stuff, but we don't want to deal with the difficult, challenging stuff. And he meant it literally. Sometimes he would just eat hot peppers, and sometimes he would just eat sweets, as he says. How do we do this? How do we implement this turning shit into sugar, which originated from turning the manure that the farmers would put on their sugarcane fields, I guess, to make them grow and give them sweet sugar? This is how we do it. When there's a negativity comes up, with their negative emotions, instead of what the society says to override it, be strong, be heroic, we just tune into it and feel it. If it's sadness, we feel that sadness. If it's regret, we really deeply feel that regret. If it's just a knot in our stomach, we just, instead of filling it with food, with coffee, with anything else, we just sit down for a few minutes, maybe not for a long time, just for a few minutes, and tune in. Tune in to see what that feeling is. That goes beyond thought, that goes beyond explanations, that goes from when we're kids, babies, really. We went through the world feeling our way through the world, right? So we want to let go of any intellectual explanations and just tune in to what we're feeling at any given moment. I love to do that when I'm driving. Safety first, obviously, but I'm able to do that just tuning in, feeling the sensations in your body, really. while driving safely, obviously. So we want to tune into whatever feelings we have, especially if they're bad feelings or we label them as bad. Because very often those bad feelings that we have, that label as bad, are actually part of ourselves. They are always part of ourselves from previous time. Maybe when we were children, maybe when we were adults, maybe when we felt lonely, maybe when we were away from our parents and felt abandoned. But those feelings are actually part of ourselves that very often are either trapped or just need acknowledgement, or just maybe a part of ourselves that is hurt, is really, what's the word, categorized somewhere deep in our subconscious to make us function without feeling that feeling. So it is very important to tune in and feel it. Feel it, right? And when we do that, that negativity, I assure you, turns into a wonderful, beautiful experience. We may reach forgiveness for ourselves or others. We may reach acceptance, which a lot of these experiences have to do with. We may reach a greater knowledge, but we are healed because we express it, we feel it, and we hold it. I remember when years ago when I was operating those huge mining trucks up north in Fort McMurray, Canada, northern Canada, almost close to the northern to the Arctic Circle, not quite that far. But I would go on special. I would be put in special missions with dangerous tasks, dangerous jobs, where I had to drive this big truck in a very slippery, sliding place, sometimes under the ground, sometimes other places. And sometimes I would be leaning on one side thinking that I would just roll off and I would die, really, in a minus 50 degrees water. You don't last long. And I realized today that I actually would think about it like, oh my God, what happens if my truck rolls over? What happens if I die? Who's going to come up for my funeral? And when I thought about that, that fear somehow magically would go away. I do not recommend it, but that's how I dealt with those negative feelings at that time. And it worked. So as we go throughout our day, driving, cleaning, and there's a knot in our stomach, instead of overriding it, instead of filling it with loud music, which there's no problem with it, with listening to music, or we're filling it with food or entertainment, we can also sit down a few minutes at a time. We don't have to figure all out on the same day. Sit down and listen to it. We feel it. We just express it. And we just sit silent. As my teacher says, we sit present with it. And that's all we have really to do. Because when we sit present, we sit and stay present with it, we will understand it. Maybe not on an intellectual level, but we feel why it's there. There's 100% success rate there. It may take just a few seconds, a few months, a few weeks, or maybe a few months. Who knows? But if we do it little by little, we just reap the rewards. And the rewards for me in the last year and a half have been magnificent with this exercise. So yeah, very often in my practice, when there are these negative feelings, like it was for the last 2 or 3 days, instead of doing the meditation zazen, I just sit down when it's my time to do meditation, instead of running away, because I don't want to do the meditation when I have resistance. But I like to sit down and do exactly as I would do my meditation. But instead of focusing on my breath work, I just tuning to whatever feeling I have that is causing the resistance. I just sit with it, focus on it 100%. And then you understand it. Sometimes we feel inadequate with our practice because there is always a part of ourselves that doesn't want liberation, as my teacher always says. That might be resistance. Or for me, very often, the feeling that came out this time, I will be very honest with you, it was a feeling of inadequacy. I felt inadequate for my spiritual path to go forward. And that had a lot to do with my complex trauma growing up, difficulties, and everybody has difficulties by all means. But those difficulties really eroded my self-esteem and faith in myself at an early age. And I still sometimes comes up, I deal with it, and it goes away. And then it comes back, I deal with it, and goes away. And every step of the way, I learn something, and I get better in my practice. Not get better with my practice, but I mature in my practice. So yes, we have a negative experience, turning quote unquote shit, excuse my language. We feel shitty. We sit with it. And very often I just journal with it. Or very often I go for a walk with it, with that feeling and focusing on it. And for me, it has 100% success rate. Not to oversell it, but we discover that part of ourselves that is aching, that is in pain, that wants acknowledgement, and we deal with it. And there's a book, Putting on the Mind of Christ by Jim Marion, and he talks about the symbolism of Christianity. And there's this image of Jesus on the cross. On each side, there's a thief. And he preaches to the thief and says, I'll take you with me. And the thief says, I don't, leave me alone. And the other one asks for forgiveness, and he says, I'll take you with me. Presumably to afterlife. It doesn't matter whether or not we believe in Jesus or that image, but the symbolism of it is really means that, as Jim Marion says, we face our lies, and some of those lies we let go of. Some of our life events we let go of. Some of our trauma we let go of. And the other ones we transmute into knowledge and carry with us, right? So something bad happened to us. Well, maybe I shouldn't trust people as much. That's the lesson we learn to move on. Or something bad happened to us. We got harassed and bullied, as it was in my case. I learned the lessons that yes, we have to have, I lacked a certain amount of, I was in the circumstances. And we pick those lessons up, and now nobody can mess with me, because I have had to learn those lessons and carry it forward. So those negative experiences become part of ourselves. And if we really do this exercise, the most negative experiences that we've had, we turn them into stories for ourselves, the good stories that we carry in our life. And down the road, they become part of our DNA. They become part of our healing process. Essentially, they become they become our gift to the world, really. I cannot think of a better example than Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search of Meaning. He writes how he went through the most horrendous concentration camp stories. And he writes so beautifully about it. It's just, for me, it's like the fifth apostle of the Bible. He's just so wonderful. And he carried those negative things, those horrors that happened to him, and turned it into a beautiful thing. He not only survived, but he thrived and really healed the world in his ways. He healed me when I was reading his book. So yeah, that's the end goal. We deal with those negative experiences and turn them into something sweet memories. I remember last summer when I had a very, very hard time for a month after a session, after a week-long retreat. I was just lost, really, in a way. And I wrote to my teacher, and he says, just do the felt sense, which I'm describing right now, and just go for the second retreat. And I did not want to go, but I did. And dealing with those negativities that had come up just changed my life, because all those negative experiences that I thought I experienced, which I did, they were truly a gift. They were all gifts. And I was so happy to go through years of depression, years of darkness, and just simmer in that darkness and depression. Yes, I was grateful for it. And I'm very grateful for it right now, because those were gifts that taught me how to have compassion to other people, towards other people. I can literally feel the pain of other people right now because of those experiences and the fact that I processed them. So what I'm saying is what seems to be the most horrendous thing that has happened to you. And I do not want to turn it all into positive. But when we deal with it from our center, when we process it the way that I just described, and there are many ways of processing and not just this one, but we change the story of what happened to us. The way that Frankl, the author of the book Man's Search for Meaning, processed what had happened to him while he was there, the concentration camps, and even after, and changed the story, and really changed the story of humanity, because he saw it as a gift. And it is a gift. Once we process those negative feelings, they become a gift, and they become part of our stories, and we move on, and we go deeper and deeper and deeper into our practice. So yeah, journaling helps. The felt sense helps. Walking around and feeling those feelings that we feel helps. And it will change your life as it did mine. I would highly, highly recommend it. Anyways, as always, if you have any questions, any comments, just let me know. And I hope that you will have an amazing, amazing rest of your day and an amazing week ahead. And if you're listening to it right now in December, I wish you a very happy Christmas as well. Take care.